Gabriel Agreste, debatably the most polarizing figure in the entirety of Miraculous Ladybug. But whether you love to love him, hate to hate him, or anything in between, the fact is that he was a monster. Today I'm going to show and explain every crime committed by Gabriel Agreste over the course of Miraculous, starting from lower, petty crimes to some that would land you multiple life sentences just for even thinking about. But I won't be doing it alone. To help me rack up and analyze Gabriel's crimes today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine and fellow Miraculous YouTuber, A Critical Retrospective.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. You definitely couldn't make a video like this without the #1 Gabriel Agreste scholar.
If you enjoy extremely detailed and nuanced analysis of Miraculous Ladybug, then go give him a sub. I'll have him linked as a collaborator and in the description. Please go check him out. Now, without further ado, let's count up the many crimes of Gabriel Agreste. Starting off with the first section of crimes that we'll call Menace to the Public. And what a better way to start than with public endangerment, a crime defined as reckless conduct that creates substantial risks of serious harm or death to others. This crime might have been made specifically for Gabriel, as his regular everyday actions as any butterfly persona involve the active endangerment of the public. No examples needed, as there is at least one example in every episode.
Mass brainwashing. In Hero's Day, Gabriel manages to akumatize almost all of Paris and have them act as his own army of evil, wreaking havoc on Paris. Akumatized villains almost always forget what happened to them post-de-evilization, which solidifies the idea that they lack control over their actions while evil. Thomas Asterisk tweet be done. Like, what does he know? He said Chloe wasn't redeemable and... You can't mind control people IRL, but if you could, it would certainly be illegal. Thus, it counts as a crime.
If public endangerment was Gabriel's bread, then mass property damage would be his butter. His akumatized villains have caused untold amounts of damage, and while Ladybug does solve the problem with her Miraculous Ladybug, let's not forget that time that Paris had to be rebuilt the old-fashioned way because Ladybug forgot how Miraculous Ladybug works. And while it was Mayura who made Senti Robustus, it was under Hawkmoth's orders, meaning by proxy, Gabriel wreaked havoc on Paris and Ladybug couldn't do anything. His creations have also destroyed monuments and priceless museum artifacts alongside many businesses and housing. But I digress, as I don't think this crime needs any further explanation.
Treason.
Treason!
Definitely feels like something Gabriel would do purely based on vibes, but it took me a while to pinpoint some evidence. Until my third eye was awakened and I, regrettably, remembered revolution. In this episode, Monarch uses Chloe as a puppet mayor of Paris so he can control it through her. This is an attempt to overthrow the Paris government, which counts as treason against Paris. Plus, Chloe herself outlaws Monarch, which adds even more weight to the fact that Gabe was doing some serious criming. Not that it matters, since Chloe jumped on the Monarch bandwagon after he dangled a carrot on a stick in front of her with promises of power. Since when did Chloe ever stick to her word anyway?
If I'm just being honest, death threats are one of the less severe crimes under Gabriel's belt, but that doesn't mean it should go undrafted, as he is more well known for threatening harm, especially when it comes to demanding the miraculous. Although he has threatened Master Fu's life, like in Heart Hunter, he did also threaten to release Felix from existence when he was talking through Senti Gabriel, but it was less of an actual threat and more of a way to scare him so he could get akumatized. Death threats is the equivalent of pennies on the dollar, so let's not dwell on it.
Incrimination. Season 5 has me in a chokehold right now, so let's give in and talk about collusion.
Not the crime, the episode.
Gabriel's plan here involves Chloe defaming Ladybug and Cat Noir through an accusation of them forcing Andre out of power via helping an akumatized villain. Which they did do, but she leaves out the part where Andre left of his own volition. This, in turn, causes Ladybug and Cat Noir to be outlawed without good reason. The Cambridge Dictionary defines incrimination as making someone appear guilty of a crime, which Chloe, under Gabe's manipulation, does.
Theft is a bit more rare for Gabe, as his mission is solely dependent on theft, so if he actually managed to perform it the way he wanted, well, we'd get what happens in the final day. It could be said that his acquisition of the Grimoire, Peacock, and Butterfly Miraculous is theft, but that's up for debate. What isn't up for debate is the theft of the Chinese Miracle Box and its Miraculous in the Battle of the Miraculous, his theft of the Miraculous from Ladybug's Yo-Yo and Shadow Moth's final attack, and lastly, his theft of the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculous from a Venom Marinette on the final day.
Conspiracy. Conspiracy is defined as a group of people planning to commit illegal activity in secret. This smells like Gabriel, as does this. Just to rattle off some examples of this from my memory: he and Natalie planning to make Ladybug take more risks, he and Tomoe planning their nightmare epidemic in the final day, He and Natalie's evil plan from the New York special, which Tomoe is implied to have had a hand in if the shot of the Tsurugi car is anything to go by. Gabe is the king of working in the shadows with evil people to plan his dark designs, which makes him a conspiracist. No, not like that!
It does feel weird to have a lot of these pretty heinous crimes, and then we get to pollution. I know it's not something to scoff at, but pollution compared to these other crimes is kind of like this picture right here. Either way, it is a crime, and one that's committed, as the air pollution done by his strikebacks is so severe that it looked like there was an active forest fire in Paris. I mean, look at this before and after. It's literally night and day. He was also complicit in the pollution done by Colonel Sanders' plastic in action, so it truly is nothing to scoff at, but at the same time, it kinda is.
Unethical experimentation. Okay, this one's gonna be quick. In Pretension, Gabriel harnesses the power of the Kwamis to try and reduce the effects of his cataclysm wound. The experimentation part comes from him basically just flying by the seat of his pants, trying anything and everything to buy more time. The unethicality of this boils down to the energy of the Kwamis being stolen to fuel the weird arm machine Natalie's controlling.
Did no one ever tell you that stealing others' energy against their will isn't nice?
What an understatement.
This next group is titled Destructions of Trust, as it involves more personal crimes, even if they weren't done by the billionaire Taylor in a personal manner. Speaking of personal matters, Gabriel is known for torturing his akumatized victims if they prioritize their personal matters over getting the miraculous. Well, most of the time at least. Considering Pixelator and Eve Illustrator's reactions, Gabriel's causing extreme pain just because of his impatience. I can see why they stopped using this, as they probably didn't see it appropriate for a kid's show, but I wish it was used more often to show Gabriel as an actual villain, and not just a cartoonishly evil caricature that they displayed him to be at times.
Child abuse. This is one I feel very strongly about. Gabriel is so transparently abusive towards Adrian. NSPCC, help me out here. Emotional abuse includes humiliating or constantly criticizing a child, threatening, shouting at a child or calling them names, making the child the subject of jokes or using sarcasm to hurt a child, making the child perform degrading acts, not recognizing a child's own individuality or trying to control their lives, exposing a child to upsetting events or situations, failing to promote a child's social development, not allowing them to have friends, persistently ignoring them, being absent, manipulating a child, never saying anything kind, expressing positive feelings, or congratulating a child on successes, never showing any emotions in interactions with a child, also known as emotional neglect. I also want to specify that Adrian isn't alone in the torment. Chloe and Lila are also abused by Gabriel as well, but I'll let Blanco take the wheel there.
To explain this section adequately, I need to first define this crime. Grooming is defined as a pattern of behavior when someone deliberately builds trust or an emotional connection with another person in order to manipulate, exploit, or control them. There is a misconception that grooming is always sexual or that it is inherently sexual, but it isn't. That's why this crime is listed, as Gabriel clearly groomed not only Chloe, but also Lila. Chloe was already in a position of abuse, as it's clear she idolizes her mother, but the latter couldn't care less about Chloe. This made Chloe an easy target for Gabriel, as he deliberately chose to target her for many akumatizations and even plotted teaming up with her for the purposes of winning the miraculous. He built trust by giving her what she wanted, the Be Miraculous, and even uses pet names and epithets to form a pseudo-mentor relationship with her. It's clear that this worked, as after Miracle Queen, Chloe would happily work with Shadowmoth and even willingly let herself get akumatized, as she thinks she and Shadowmoth have an equal exchange relationship. If he gets Ladybug and Cat Noir's miraculous, then she'd surely get the Be Miraculous. But the truth is, Gabriel only used Chloe to help him win, as if he did get the miraculous, Chloe would just be tossed aside, as her usefulness would be used up. Something similar to what he did with Lila. He manipulated her hatred for Ladybug to akumatize her, and he even took her under his wing to help separate Adrian and Marinette, help akumatize Kagami and Oni-chan, and help spark another spirit-crushing event for Scarlet Akumas to run rampant. Once Lila's usefulness was used up though, he threw her away, and he went on with his day. While his actions were explicit, the motivations and character beliefs towards the actions were heavily implied to hint at this conclusion, and in hindsight, it's a bit more obvious than you'd initially believe.
Abuse of power. The abuse of power by someone or something that is harmful or morally wrong. Fits Gabriel to a T, doesn't it? Abusing his power over Adrian to control him, abusing his power as an influential public figure to manipulate the people of Paris, abusing his power over Natalie to degrade her and take advantage of her infatuation with him to get her to act as an accomplice to his plans. It's all there for those with the eyes to see, which is hopefully all of you watching right now. Yeah, you guys are super smart. I believe in you.
This tier could easily be about just Adrian, but I'll open the doors a little bit. Psychological abuse is defined as behavior in which an individual intentionally manipulates, threatens, or isolates another to gain control and destroy their sense of self-worth. The first character that comes to mind for this is easily his own son, Adrian. Prior to season 1, Adrian's life was pure isolation, as he never went to school and was only allowed to socialize with those who worked under or with Gabriel and any kids they had. That's why he was friends with Felix and Chloe. But after the start of the show, the psychological abuse only got worse, as we can see him literally control his son, as he is a Sendamonster, and can only do what his father says, as he holds Adrian's amicized object. Gabriel also helped Tomoe psychologically abuse Kagami, especially during Perfect Alliance, and he also made attempts to, and succeeded at times, in attempts at manipulating and psychologically abusing Chloe, Lila, Felix, and Marinette. We could talk about this for longer, but we could be here all day if we do so I'll just stop here.
False imprisonment. In the final day, Gabriel and Tomoe lock Adrian and Kagami into these restricted white cells, stripping them of their freedom and autonomy the entire finale. They can't do anything but cower and agonize over their helplessness. This actually counts as a form of torture as shown through this Wikipedia article. Being locked in these rooms is meant to deprive the prisoner of their senses and their identity. But it's even worse considering that neither of the two children did anything to even remotely deserve such torment. Thus, it's false imprisonment.
Kidnapping is more of a one and done, as he did kidnap Master Fu and Miracle Queen while he was in his shelter trying to stop Hawkmoth and Mayura from breaking through. It could be said that his akumatized victims are being kidnapped, as they do kind of fit the definition of the word, but it'd be hard to defend. Either way, Master Fu's case is certainly a valid example.
Stalking. Taking a page out of Mari's book, are we, Gabriel? What a guy. This is one that most people will forget about, but it ties into the grooming allegations we're levying against him too. In Heroes Day, Gabriel has a camera positioned in front of Lila's apartment, allowing him to spy on her. This constitutes stalking, according to the Met Police website. But wait, it gets worse. Natalie tells Gabe that Lila's been harboring her rage against Ladybug for months. The only way she'd know this is if she was stalking Lila for months. Months! Gabriel, why are you doing?
Unlawful surveillance doesn't only apply to someone's image, like having a hidden camera somewhere it shouldn't be, as unlawful surveillance applies to a person's activities and conversations too, as long as it's occurring in a private setting and the surveillance in question is non-consensual. This easily applies to the cameras in the prison cells Adrian and Kagami were in during Perfect Alliance. The Alliance rings would also count, as Gabriel has personal access to people's private information. The Butterfly Miraculous's ability to hear people's arguments and conversations would also fall under unlawful surveillance. And lastly, Shadowmoth and Mayura's usage of Optigami in specific scenarios, as while there isn't an expectation of privacy in a hallway for example, using hidden cameras to track people and Optigami's spying of the air ducts for example, which is a place that would count as somewhere private, would certainly fall under unlawful surveillance.
Blackmail.
If you don't help me make the wish come true, I won't be able to save myself. I won't be able to save you either. If we don't do anything, Adrian will be left all alone.
This is Gabriel trying to keep Natalie on his side via holding her terminal illness against her, and both of them know that this was caused by her villaining it up as Mayura, so it's pretty darn obvious that Gabriel is blackmailing Natalie here, holding the damning info he has over her to get her to do what he wants. Now, Natalie is a grown woman who deserves to be held responsible for her part playing Gabe's machinations, but that doesn't mean she wasn't being manipulated by him as well. Two things can be true at the same time.
This last category is named Crimes Against Humanity, a title that I believe speaks for itself. Now this is specifically talking about Gabriel's mass murder of Sendamonsters. Since their introduction, Gabriel has created and killed, or ordered the creation and killing, of 16 Sendamonsters. There's also a case that can be made about the people who died by proxy of him, whether that be from his Sendamonsters or akumatized villains. More explicit examples like Timebreaker show people actually fading from existence, whereas others are implied, like the wanton destruction caused by Strikeback or Qilin, as there is no way people were able to fully evacuate from these buildings before they sustained heavy damage. Lastly, Gabriel has murdered himself on 2 occasions, in the Shanghai special when his own villain turned on him, and in the final day, where he traded his life for Natalie's.
War instigation. In the New York special, Gabriel has Miraculonizer ready to shoot off a missile that could cause World War III. He threatens Ladybug and Cat Noir into giving him their Miraculouses to prevent this from happening. Now, that'd be bad enough as it is, but
They can't say I didn't warn them.
Okay, so he's more than willing to full-on instigate a war over this. What a guy.
I made a whole short about why Gabriel Agreste is not actually a terrorist, and while you can go watch it, I'll summarize it for you real quick. Gabriel Agreste isn't a terrorist because general consensus usually ascribes 2 requirements for an act to be considered terrorism. The first being the unlawful use of violence to intimidate or coerce populations, and the second being a political, ideological, or religious motivation. Gabriel's sole motivation for his actions were to bring back Emily. Yes, he had ideologies, and yes, he worked with the kingdom who have their own ideology, but you have to establish that the actions he took were motivated by that ideology, not that he had one to begin with. Gabriel teamed up with the kingdom because they raised his chances of winning. He didn't care about their ideals or their goals. He solely wanted Emily to be brought back, and did so by any means necessary. It is listed here because his actions of wanton destruction, mass murder, and constant causes of public panic have been perceived to be terrorism, so you'd expect it to be on this list. But to set the record straight, Gabriel Agreste is not a terrorist, nor has he ever committed any acts of terrorism.
Slavery. One could argue that the akumatized villains are in fact slaves. They're forced to perform Hawkmoth/Shadowmoth/Monarch's bidding without any kind of compensation, and Gabe demeans and orders them around like they're his property. And if that doesn't convince you, then this sure will.
You are not my prisoners. You are my slaves, and I am your master.
Yep, Gabe calls the Kwamis his slaves, so even by his own admission, he's a slave owner.
Omnicide is defined as the total, intentional, or negligent destruction of all life or all human life. Gabriel came close to this on a few occasions in the show, like in Cat Blanc or Ephemeral, but in Recreation, when he finally makes his wish, he fully commits omnicide. Why, you may ask? Because the wish is established to work in Ephemeral by using the analogy of changing your notes' ink color. You'd have to erase the notes and rewrite them in a new color. People in the comments of my shorts about the wish have often said that small changes, like the very tiny one Gabriel made, wouldn't cause such a thing to occur, but this is just blatantly false. Because the wish is made through Gimme, a combination of Tiki and Plague, the Kwamis of creation and destruction. What do you think that implies? Any wish, no matter how small, requires the total destruction and total recreation of the entire universe. That's why this scene plays out as it does. This white orb is destroying the universe as we know it and creating it again with the changes made by the wish. By this logic, all life, no matter where it is in the observable universe and otherwise, is killed. While they are remade, they are not the same. Marinette, Adrian, the Miraculous, and any other character are all carbon copies of the Agreste characters with implanted memories. These characters as we know them are dead, along with every plant, animal, microorganism, every alien in outer space, all dead. Done by the will of one man, Gabriel Agreste. Thank you for watching, and thanks again to Critical Retrospective. If you enjoy heavy analysis and detailed discussions of Miraculous Ladybug, then go check them out. I'll have him listed as a collaborator in the description and in the pinned comment. Shout out to channel members Gerardo Rostero, Loki, and Harb. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.